The space station hung silently above the green-blue planet, orbiting like a silver sentinel. Its long metal arms stretched outward, holding solar panels and communication arrays that glimmered under the distant light of a far-off star. Inside, the hum of machinery was constant, a background heartbeat for those who lived and worked there. Captain Alex Rayner stepped off the shuttle with a careful, measured pace. He had traveled through multiple star systems to reach this station, his mission clear: study the alien species known as the Clerians, and understand their biology, culture, and behavior. Humans had only seen them from afar, through telescope images and faint signals. This was the first time anyone from Earth would meet them face to face. The station's corridors were smooth, metallic, and cold. Panels along the walls glowed softly with alien symbols. Alex's boots made a dull echo as he walked toward the central research hub. Around him, he saw other humans in their white lab uniforms, checking instruments and recording data. But what caught his attention most was a figure standing near a large observation window, staring at the swirling clouds below. Lyra was a Clerian scientist, tall and graceful, with pale violet skin that shimmered slightly in the station lights. Her eyes were large, dark, and reflective, giving her an almost otherworldly appearance. She had an aura of calm that seemed to absorb the noise of the station rather than add to it. As Alex approached, she turned her head slowly and regarded him with curiosity. "You are human," she said in a calm, even tone. Her voice had a musical quality, but it carried no emotion, only fact. "Yes," Alex replied with a slight bow. "Captain Alex Rayner. I've been assigned to assist in your research." Lyra nodded once, then returned her gaze to the planet below. "Curious. Humans feel pain. Clerians do not. That makes you fragile, in ways you cannot imagine." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Fragile? I would not call it that. Humans survive, adapt, endure." She looked at him, her large eyes narrowing slightly. "Endure? Perhaps. But only because you are weak. Pain forces you to act. For Clerians, pain is irrelevant. We do not suffer. We do not falter." Alex smiled faintly. "I think that makes you strong. But humans have other strengths. Strengths you might not understand yet." Lyra's gaze shifted back to the observation window. But Alex noticed a flicker of curiosity cross her face. It was subtle, almost invisible to someone less observant, but he had learned to notice such things over years of fieldwork. The days that followed were filled with observation, analysis, and careful experimentation. Alex learned to navigate the station, its rotating corridors, and the strange tools that Lyra and her team used. He was fascinated by their methods, precise and efficient, but he could not shake the feeling that they were missing something. An understanding of the world that humans took for granted. The human experience itself. Lyra, on the other hand, observed Alex. She watched how he reacted to small accidents, like a loose panel sliding from the ceiling or a sharp edge along the corridor. He flinched, yes, but then adapted quickly, recovering without complaint. His reactions were fast, calculated, yet grounded in instinct. "This is inefficient," she murmured once to herself, studying a recording of Alex tripping over a misplaced cable. "He reacts emotionally and survives. Humans are illogical, yet effective." Alex caught the whisper, though he did not respond. He had learned that alien logic was not something to argue with. Instead, he focused on demonstrating human resilience in simple ways. Repairing equipment without protective gloves, carrying heavy samples without machinery, or climbing into tight spaces to fix delicate instruments. Each action tested Lyra's assumptions, and each time, she recorded her observations with a growing unease. One evening, as the station orbited closer to the planet's stormy northern hemisphere, an unexpected incident occurred. A small alien device, used to measure atmospheric particles, malfunctioned. sparks flew, and a low hum grew into a sharp, electric crackle. Alex was nearby, and without thinking, he stepped toward the device to stabilize it. A sudden jolt of energy arced through the panel, and he felt a sharp sting in his arm. Lyra froze, unprepared for the sight. Humans reacted to pain. Clerians did not. Yet here he was, enduring it calmly, adjusting the device with one hand while holding his arm with the other. His brow furrowed. But he did not cry out. "This is strange," Lyra whispered, almost to herself. She leaned closer, studying him with intensity. He should collapse. He should scream. Yet he continues. Alex glanced at her, smiling despite the discomfort. "It's nothing I can't handle." The device needed fixing. Lyra blinked, uncertain how to respond. Her species prided themselves on observing phenomena without interference. Emotion, pain, vulnerability. These were variables they could not experience. And yet, here was a human, defying her understanding. As the night deepened, Alex cleaned his minor injury with careful precision, explaining the process as he worked. Humans heal differently. We notice, adapt, and endure. Pain is a guide. It teaches us where to be careful, when to pause, when to act. Lyra's head tilted slightly, her voice softer than before. "You speak as if pain is valuable." "Valuable," Alex shrugged. "It's part of life, and sometimes it brings out strength you didn't know you had." For the first time, Lyra paused in her analysis. She had read all the records, observed countless humans, yet never truly experienced the concept she was witnessing. Pain, she realized, was not just a weakness. It could be a teacher, a motivator, a bond between beings. The station's artificial sun dimmed in orbit, bathing the lab in a gentle orange glow. Lyra finally spoke, almost hesitantly. "Perhaps humans are more complex than I understood." Alex smiled, sensing a shift in her tone. "We are. And we are not fragile. Not in the ways you think." The night passed slowly, the storm outside thrumming against the station's hull. Alex continued his work, Lyra observing quietly, each noting the subtle ways the other adapted to life aboard the alien station. By morning, Lyra had changed. She moved with her usual grace, precise and calm. Yet there was a new depth in her observations. She studied Alex not just as a subject, but as a being resilient, vulnerable, and capable of enduring far more than she had assumed. When the storm finally subsided, Alex stepped onto the observation deck, gazing at the planet below. Swirling clouds of green and blue reflected the early light of the distant star. Lyra joined him, silently. "You humans endure through much," she said quietly. "Yet you continue, smiling, helping, adapting. Alex looked at her, his eyes warm with quiet amusement. "You'll see soon enough. And when you do, it might change the way you see your own kind, too." For the first time, Lyra felt a spark of curiosity that went beyond science. Not just about humans, but about the experience of being alive, the full spectrum of strength, vulnerability, and endurance that humans carried. She had believed herself superior, invincible, untouched by the weaknesses of the flesh. And yet, here was a human who had taught her, in a single night, that there were powers in vulnerability, courage in pain, and strength in endurance. That night, as the station settled into silence once more, Lyra recorded her observations. Every note, every measurement was meticulous. Yet beneath the data lay a quiet, personal realization. Humans were extraordinary. Not because they avoided pain, but because they survived it. And sometimes, they thrived because of it. And somewhere deep inside her, a question began to take root. Could a human teach a Clerian something she had never known about life itself? The orbit continued, and the green-blue planet spun beneath them, indifferent and vast. But on the station, amidst the hum of machinery and the quiet of observation, two beings, one human, one alien, stood at the edge of understanding. The journey had just begun. The morning after the minor lab accident, the station hummed with its usual rhythm. Alarms were off, machines working smoothly, and the artificial sun bathed the corridors in soft light. Yet, a subtle tension lingered between Alex and Lyra. It was not hostility, nor discomfort, but curiosity, a kind of quiet awareness that each of them had learned something new about the other. Lyra moved with her usual precision, her violet skin shimmering slightly in the light. She adjusted instruments, checked readings, and monitored the station's systems. But now, every time she glanced at Alex, there was a flicker of something unfamiliar. Interest, perhaps, or uncertainty. She had studied humans for years through records and remote observations, but nothing had prepared her for the first-hand experience of seeing one endure pain without losing composure. Alex, meanwhile, carried his own sense of purpose. He was eager to learn about the Clerians, but more than that, he was fascinated by Lyra herself. Her calmness, her logic, her focus, all of it was alien, but compelling. And as much as she claimed humans were fragile, he had already begun to notice that the Clerians had blind spots. They were incredibly intelligent, but overly dependent on reason, emotionless in ways humans could not imagine. The day began with routine experiments. But it did not stay routine for long. A delicate atmospheric analyzer, suspended in the central lab, started to flicker uncontrollably. Its energy readings were off the charts. Alex noticed first. "I think the stabilizer is failing," he said calmly, stepping closer. Lyra's large eyes widened slightly. "The device is highly secure. No human intervention is necessary. Step back." Alex shook his head. "If we wait for it to fail completely, the readings will be lost, and the equipment might be damaged. I can fix it." Lyra's brow furrowed. She had seen humans act hastily in situations that required logic and patience. But Alex's movements were controlled. Careful. He adjusted the analyzer, securing loose connections, while the flickering lights reflected across his face. Then, a sudden surge of energy shot through the device. Sparks flew. Alex felt a sharp sting across his forearm as the electricity arced briefly. But he did not cry out. Instead, he tightened his grip, stabilizing the device, and carefully stepped back. Lyra froze, her hand hovering above the console as if she could not decide whether to help or simply observe. For the first time, she saw human endurance not as weakness, but as deliberate action. "You continue, even when harmed?" Alex wiped his arm, smiling faintly. Lyra turned away, concealing a flicker of something she did not yet understand. Admiration, maybe, or a subtle envy. She had never experienced pain as a guide. To Clerians, injury was inconvenient, but never informative. Humans, they learned, adapted, and sometimes grew stronger because of it. Later, in the observation chamber, Lyra studied a human medical record Alex had brought. He noticed her scrutiny. "You are still thinking about what happened this morning," Alex said softly. Lyra's eyes met his. "It is anomalous. Your species acts with illogical bravery. You endure what would incapacitate a Clerian. Why?" "Why?" Alex leaned back, thoughtful. "Because humans understand limits. We know pain, and we use it. It teaches us. It connects us. And sometimes, it makes us stronger than we think." Lyra considered this, quiet for a moment. She had heard of human courage in distant reports, but reading about it was not the same as witnessing it firsthand. The concept that vulnerability could coexist with strength was alien and yet undeniable. That afternoon, a routine system check led to another unexpected situation. The station's gravity stabilizers began to fluctuate due to minor meteorite debris impacting the outer hull. Corridors tilted slightly, lights flickered, and floating objects threatened to damage equipment. Alex noticed that a critical data module was drifting toward an exposed conduit. Without hesitation, he jumped into the zero-gravity field, catching the module with one hand while holding onto a railing with the other. The movement was smooth, practiced, but carried risk. Any misstep could lead to serious injury. Lyra observed, unable to intervene quickly. "This is unnecessary risk," she said quietly. "A Clerian would not act without certainty of safety." Alex floated, securing the module, then adjusted the conduit. "Humans sometimes act first, think later, but we also rely on instinct. We calculate risk differently." Lyra's head tilted slightly, her large eyes reflecting the drifting module and the calm expression on Alex's face. She began to notice a pattern. Human adaptability was not chaotic. It was a unique blend of instinct, intellect, and courage. Later that night, the station's crew gathered for a briefing. The meteorite impact had caused minor damage to the outer hull, but all systems were stabilized. Alex reported on the repairs, his calm demeanor impressing not only Lyra but also the other Clerian observers. After the briefing, Alex returned to the lab to check instruments one last time. Lyra followed, a silent shadow behind him. "Why do you continue even when injured or in danger?" she asked, stopping just behind him. Alex looked at her, considering. "Because someone has to. Someone has to take responsibility. Someone has to act. Pain is part of that responsibility. It doesn't stop us, it guides us. It teaches us where to be careful, where to push forward, where to protect others." Lyra's expression softened, a subtle change from her usual impassive look. "You risk yourself for others. You do not fear pain. Yet, you do not harm yourself intentionally. This is unusual." Alex nodded. "We call it courage. It comes from knowing our limits and choosing to act anyway." Lyra studied him quietly, her mind racing with new understanding. She had spent years analyzing the Clerian's belief that pain was irrelevant, a weakness to be avoided. And now, a human had shown her that pain could be a tool, a teacher, and even a form of strength. As the night deepened, Lyra and Alex continued their work. Instruments were checked, data recorded, and minor repairs completed. Each action by Alex was a lesson in human resilience, each observation by Lyra a step toward understanding. At one point, a minor lab accident occurred, a small chemical spill that could have caused burns. Alex reacted instantly, moving the containers safely and neutralizing the spill, his arm brushing against a hot surface. He winced, but did not stop. Lyra watched, her eyes wide. For the first time, she felt something like anxiety, not because of the danger itself, but because she realized how much she cared about this human. It was unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and yet undeniable. "You feel concern," Alex said softly, noticing her hesitation. "Even when nothing threatens you directly?" Lyra froze. "I do not know. Perhaps observation, perhaps curiosity, but it is different." Alex smiled faintly. "It's normal. Humans feel concern, empathy. Sometimes we feel it for others more than ourselves." The words hung in the air. Lyra could not comprehend fully, but she sensed their truth. Humans experienced life differently. Their pain, endurance, and empathy were not weaknesses, they were strengths intertwined. By the end of the day, both were exhausted but changed. Alex had shown Lyra that human behavior was more than illogical survival instincts. It was a combination of courage, adaptability, and emotional depth. Lyra had shown Alex the precision, focus, and logic of an alien mind. And somewhere between the machines and glowing screens, between sparks of energy and drifting data modules, a bond began to form, a quiet understanding that transcended species, language, and logic. For Lyra, the realization was profound. Humans were not fragile. They were extraordinary, and their ability to endure and act despite pain was a kind of power she had never considered. As Alex looked out of the observation window at the swirling clouds of the planet below, he felt a quiet respect for the alien beside him. And Lyra, standing silently, began to wonder. Could humans teach her something her own species never could? That night, the station settled into its rhythm again, humming softly in orbit. Outside, the planet rotated beneath them, storm clouds moving slowly across oceans and forests. Inside, two beings, one human, one alien, stood at the edge of understanding, each learning from the other, each preparing for challenges yet to come. The unexpected situations of the day had proven one thing. Humans were resilient in ways that were difficult to measure, hard to predict, and impossible to ignore. And Lyra, despite herself, could not turn away from that realization. The space station drifted quietly in orbit, but the calm was deceptive. A planetary storm was approaching the northern hemisphere, dark clouds swirling with violent energy. The planet below glowed with flashes of lightning, a reminder of nature's raw power. Inside the station, the crew was on high alert. Systems were recalibrated, emergency protocols activated, and the usual hum of machinery seemed tense, almost anxious. Lyra moved with her usual grace, checking each instrument and sensor. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, there was a spark of uncertainty. She had prepared for storms like this countless times before, yet something about this one felt different. Humans had a way of introducing unpredictability, and she could sense it in Alex. He moved calmly through the corridors, scanning systems, but she noticed the flicker of concern in his expression, subtle yet real. "Storm approaching," Alex said, his voice steady. "We'll need to secure the modules on Deck 7. I'll handle the stabilizers. Can you check the observation lab?" Lyra nodded. "Affirmative, but you must take caution. Your species is limited physically." Alex smiled faintly. "I'll manage. I always do." The storm hit sooner than expected. Gravity fluctuations jolted the station as debris impacted the outer hull. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across every corridor. Crew members scrambled, securing loose objects and ensuring systems remained operational. Alex rushed toward the stabilizers. His boots slipped slightly on the tilted floor, but he adjusted, gripping the railings tightly. Sparks flew from a damaged panel, and an exposed conduit sent a surge of energy toward him. Without hesitation, he raised his arm to shield Lyra, who had been inspecting a sensitive sensor. The current surged through his arm, a sharp sting that made him wince. But he did not falter. Lyra's eyes widened in shock. No Clerian would react this way. Pain, for them, was irrelevant. But humans experienced it, and continued anyway. She felt something unfamiliar, a rush of concern, almost panic, that she had no way to control. "Captain, step back," she shouted, though her voice lacked the urgency a human would expect. Alex tightened his grip, stabilizing the panel with his other hand. "It's fine. Focus on your area. I've got this." For the first time, Lyra felt a strange mixture of fear and admiration. Humans were not invincible, yet Alex was acting as if he were. She could feel the energy from the damaged conduit, almost sensing it in herself as tension, a foreign sensation she could not describe. Once the immediate danger passed, Alex leaned against the panel, catching his breath. His arm throbbed where the surge had touched him, and a small scorch mark marred his sleeve. Lyra approached slowly, hesitant. "You survived that?" she said quietly. Your species. You risk yourself in ways illogical. Alex gave a faint smile. It's not illogical. It's survival. It's responsibility. We protect each other. Pain tells us what to avoid next time, what to be careful of. It doesn't stop us. It teaches us. Lyra studied him in silence. For the first time, she realized that human endurance was more than physical. It was emotional, mental, and deeply tied to bonds with others. The concept of choosing to risk oneself for another being, despite pain, was entirely foreign to her species. The storm intensified. Lightning danced across the planet's atmosphere, illuminating clouds of green and blue gas. The station shuddered with every impact, and alarms screamed across the decks. Alex moved to secure another unstable module. This time, debris had punctured a panel, releasing a small cloud of volatile gas. Lyra hesitated. Captain, it is too dangerous. Step back. Alex glanced at her. I can handle it. Trust me. He opened the panel, holding his breath as a spark ignited briefly. A small flare shot out, grazing his shoulder. Pain shot through him, sharp and immediate. But he gritted his teeth and continued. He fastened the panel securely, shutting the system down before it could escalate. Lyra watched in disbelief. Her species had faced dangers like this countless times, yet none of them had shown the mixture of caution, awareness, and deliberate action that Alex displayed. He was human, yes, vulnerable, but that vulnerability made him capable of choices that no Clerian could understand. After the immediate crisis, the crew regrouped in the central hub. Alex's arm was wrapped in a temporary bandage, and he sat quietly, breathing heavily. Lyra stood nearby, observing him. She noticed the subtle signs, the quickened heartbeat, the slight tremor in his fingers, the faint wince he tried to hide. This is extraordinary, she whispered, almost to herself. Alex looked up. You feel pain, yet you act anyway. You do not collapse. You do not freeze. You endure. Alex smiled faintly. Pain is not weakness, it's information. It tells us when to be careful, when to push forward, and when to protect others. Humans have learned to use it, not be controlled by it. Lyra studied him carefully. For the first time, she felt something she could not name. Concern? Respect? Something deeper, tied to the vulnerability and strength she had witnessed. She had always believed that Clerians were superior because they were unaffected by pain. But now, she wondered if her lack of it made them incomplete in ways she had never imagined. As the night wore on, the storm continued to rage outside. The station groaned under its effects, and minor systems required constant attention. Alex and Lyra worked together, moving between damaged modules, repairing circuits, and stabilizing instruments. Every action by Alex was a lesson in resilience. Every observation by Lyra was a step toward understanding a concept her species had never valued. At one point, a structural panel gave way under pressure from the storm. A large piece of metal threatened to crush the observation sensors below. Without hesitation, Alex lunged forward, pushing the panel aside with his shoulder. Pain shot through his ribs, but he gritted his teeth and continued, ensuring the sensors were unharmed. Lyra gasped, instinctively moving to help him. She had never experienced the need to act out of fear for another's safety. Watching Alex endure, despite pain, stirred something unfamiliar inside her, a realization that humans were capable of forms of courage Clerians could not understand. You risk yourself. For me, she said quietly, almost unsure if she was speaking aloud. Alex shook his head slightly. Not just for you. For everyone. That's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes we fail, but we act anyway. Lyra's thoughts raced. The emotional intensity she felt was new, confusing, and compelling. She had believed that not feeling pain made her superior, but seeing Alex endure, not just physically, but emotionally, made her question everything. By the time the storm began to subside, both were exhausted. The station had survived, largely due to their combined efforts, but the night had left its mark. Alex's injuries were minor but real, a physical testament to his bravery. Lyra's understanding of human nature had shifted profoundly. She had observed something her species could not replicate: the strength born from vulnerability, the courage born from suffering, the connection born from shared danger. As they stood on the observation deck, watching the storm clouds finally dissipate, Lyra spoke softly. "Your species, humans, you endure in ways that Clerians cannot. You feel pain, yet it does not weaken you. It strengthens you." Alex looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "Pain is part of life. We do not let it control us. We use it to grow, to act, to protect. That's what makes us human." Lyra nodded slowly, a quiet acceptance in her expression. She had been challenged, not just intellectually, but emotionally. The night had shown her that humans were extraordinary, not despite their vulnerability, but because of it. The storm had ended, but its lessons lingered. For Alex, it was a reminder of the resilience and courage of his species. For Lyra, it was a revelation. Humans were not fragile. They were powerful, not in spite of their pain, but because of it. And somewhere in the quiet of the observation deck, a bond formed not just of mutual respect, but of understanding. Lyra had glimpsed the depth of human strength, and Alex had earned her admiration. The night had proven that true resilience was not the absence of pain, but the choice to endure it, act through it, and rise above it. The storm passed, the station stabilized, and the planet below rotated peacefully, unaware of the small drama that had unfolded in orbit. But for Alex and Lyra, nothing would ever be the same. The storm had passed, leaving the station quiet but scarred. Outside, the planet's atmosphere glowed softly under the light of the distant star. Inside, the hum of machinery was steady, almost soothing after the chaos of the night before. Alex Rayner moved carefully along the corridors, checking damaged equipment and assisting crew members in repairs. Each action was calm, precise, and deliberate. Lyra followed him silently, observing. She had changed in subtle ways, her movements still precise, but her mind now occupied with thoughts she could not easily categorize. Humans, she realized, were not only physically resilient, but emotionally complex. Pain was not their enemy. It was a teacher, a guide, and sometimes, a bridge between beings. "You move with purpose," she said quietly as they worked to secure a loose communications array. "Even after injury, even after danger." Alex glanced at her, offering a faint smile. "We learn quickly. Pain teaches us limits and possibilities at the same time. It doesn't stop us. It guides us." Lyra considered this. "It is extraordinary. Clerians, we avoid discomfort. We do not risk physical harm unnecessarily. We survive. But you, your species, thrives through experience of risk and suffering. It is paradoxical." Alex chuckled softly. "It might seem that way. But humans see challenges as opportunities. Pain is not a barrier. It is information. And sometimes, it connects us to others." They worked in silence for a while, securing the last of the damaged modules. Lyra noted how naturally Alex coordinated with the crew, guiding them, encouraging them, and remaining calm under stress. His presence brought a quiet confidence to the station, an energy she could feel but could not fully analyze. Later, in the observation lab, Lyra finally allowed herself a moment of reflection. She reviewed the data from the storm, the energy surges, the damaged panels, the floating debris. Every incident had been handled by Alex with a combination of speed, intelligence, and courage. He had been injured, yes, but he had not faltered. His actions had prevented further damage, possibly saving lives. For the first time, Lyra questioned the Clerian belief that pain was irrelevant. Their species had focused on efficiency, logic, and detachment, assuming that emotional responses were weak and unnecessary. Yet Alex had demonstrated that experiencing pain could lead to informed decisions, deeper bonds, and extraordinary courage. She could see it clearly now. Humans were not weak. They were powerful, in ways her species had never understood. Alex approached, noticing her thoughtful expression. "You're quiet. Thinking about what happened?" Lyra looked at him, her large eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and respect. "Yes. You changed my understanding. Clerians value logic above all. We think pain is weakness. But you showed me that it can be strength, that it can guide action and connect beings. I did not anticipate this." Alex nodded slowly. "Humans are complicated. We endure, we feel, we act. Sometimes, our greatest strength comes from the hardest experiences." Lyra paused, choosing her words carefully. "Perhaps Clerians have misunderstood the value of vulnerability. Your species demonstrates that strength is not only physical, it is emotional, connected to choices and empathy. This is remarkable." Alex smiled faintly. "It's part of who we are, and it makes us capable of things other species might not expect." The next few days were spent repairing the remaining damage from the storm and ensuring the station's systems were fully operational. Alex continued to assist crew members, demonstrate human adaptability, and quietly challenge Lyra's assumptions. Every action, every small decision, reinforced the lessons of the storm. Lyra, for her part, began recording her findings in a new way. She included not just data and measurements, but notes on human behavior, emotional responses, and decision-making under stress. She realized that observation alone was insufficient. Understanding required reflection, and reflection required acknowledging her own unfamiliar feelings. One evening, after the station had settled into its rhythm, Alex and Lyra stood together on the observation deck. The planet below rotated slowly, oceans glinting under the distant sun, clouds drifting peacefully. The chaos of the storm was gone, but its lessons lingered. "You have changed my perspective," Lyra said quietly. "Humans are not fragile. You endure, you act, and you feel. Pain does not control you. It strengthens you. And that is extraordinary." Alex looked at her, admiration in his eyes. "It's not something we choose consciously. It's part of being human, and part of surviving together. We protect each other, even when it's hard. That's what makes us strong." Lyra nodded, a small but genuine acknowledgement. "I understand now. I will share this with others, though it may be difficult. Many Clerians do not accept that vulnerability can coexist with strength. But humans have proven it." Alex's smile grew warmer. "Sometimes, the best lessons are learned by experience, not theory. You've seen it firsthand now." The two stood in silence, watching the planet below, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a challenge overcome. The storm had tested them both. Alex had shown the power of human endurance, and Lyra had discovered a new appreciation for what it meant to feel, to act, and to connect. Over the following weeks, their partnership deepened. Alex continued his research on Clerian biology, while Lyra observed him and other humans closely. The bond they formed was built not on sentiment alone, but on mutual respect, shared experience, and understanding of strengths beyond their own species. Lyra began to speak openly about what she had learned. She challenged colleagues to reconsider their assumptions about humans, explaining how endurance, pain, and empathy could coexist with logic and efficiency. Some Clerians were skeptical, others curious, but all were forced to acknowledge that humans were exceptional in ways they had never imagined. Alex, in turn, learned more about Clerian culture, logic, and precision. He realized that human intuition and alien reasoning could complement each other. Together, they worked on new projects, blending human adaptability with Clerian technology to achieve results neither could accomplish alone. One day, as they reviewed the final reports from the storm, Lyra looked at Alex and said, "Your species has taught me more than I expected. Not about science, but about life. About endurance, choice, and connection. I respect this. I respect you." Alex smiled. "And I respect you too. You've shown me logic, focus, and clarity in ways humans often overlook. Together, we make a good team." Lyra's eyes reflected a quiet understanding. A mixture of respect, admiration, and something deeper that she did not yet name. She had been wrong to assume that aliens were immune to lessons from humans. She had learned that strength was not just physical or logical, it was emotional, experiential, and shared. The station, once quiet and clinical, now felt alive with the collaboration between species. The storm had left scars, but it had also left understanding, respect, and the foundation for trust. Humans had proven their resilience, and Clerians had learned that endurance and empathy were forms of power in their own right. As Alex prepared for the next phase of his research, Lyra spoke one last time that evening. "You have changed my perspective permanently. Humans are extraordinary, not in spite of their vulnerabilities, but because of them. I will remember this." Alex nodded. "And I will remember that sometimes the greatest lessons come from unexpected places. Humans endure, Clerians think, and together, we can achieve more than either alone." The station rotated slowly in orbit, calm now, peaceful, and full of quiet potential. Outside, the planet's clouds drifted across oceans and mountains. Inside, two beings, one human, one alien, stood at the edge of understanding, united by experience, respect, and a newfound recognition of each other's strengths. The night had changed everything. Alex had shown Lyra the value of human resilience, courage, and empathy. Lyra had shown Alex the power of logic, focus, and disciplined observation. Together, they had created a bridge between species, a bridge built not on fear, not on dominance, but on understanding, endurance, and mutual respect. For Lyra, the lesson was clear. Humans were not fragile. Their capacity to feel, to endure, and to act despite pain made them extraordinary. And for Alex, the experience reinforced what he had always known, that humans, though vulnerable, were capable of remarkable courage, creativity, and strength. As the artificial lights of the station dimmed for the night, both of them reflected silently. The storm had tested them, pushed them to their limits, and revealed the hidden strengths of their respective species. And in that quiet reflection, there was understanding, there was respect, and there was the unspoken promise of future challenges to face together, side by side, human and alien, learning from one another, stronger for it. The orbit continued, steady and unwavering, and the planet below rotated peacefully, unaware of the bond formed above it. But within the station, humanity had proven itself, and a Clerian had learned that endurance, empathy, and courage were forces even her species could not ignore. The story of that stormy night, of the challenges and the lessons learned, would echo in the station for years to come. For Alex Rayner, It was another mission, successfully completed. For Lyra, it was a revelation that would change her understanding of life and the humans she had once underestimated forever. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of machinery and the soft glow of the observation deck, two beings smiled, united not by species, but by the simple, undeniable truth. Strength often comes from enduring, understanding, and connecting with others, even in the face of pain.